Hey, all you harlots. Today we have an interesting topic of Sigmund Freud, but first, we are your hosts. We've got Carly, Pataloma, and I'm Riss. And Carly has our story today.
Yes, this one's coming from Waverly Hills, Louisville, Kentucky. The original structure that was used for the TB hospital was built in 1910. The building that stands now was completed in 1926 and was designed to care for 400 patients. Waverly remained open until 1961. Remaining patient first of the year to Hazelwood Sanitarium. No, it wasn't closed due to patient abuse. Waverly Hills was closed because a cure was finally developed. Woodhaven Geriatric Center operated in this building from 1962 until 1980, when it was finally closed down by the state among rumors of patient neglect and mistreatment. The building remained empty until 2001 when Charles and Tina purchased it. By all accounts, Waverly was a modern facility that attracted people from all over the world. The hospital finally had a limit to the residents of Jefferson County. A 1955 article from the journal described Waverly as a cheerful place. People came here with a common goal, either to be cured or to provide help to cure others. Date stamp 11/23/1989. A place and time, Waverly Hills. TB Hospital was the heart of the isolated community, inspiring loyalty and patience. When the hospital opened in 1911, it had 8 patients, but it soon reached its capacity of 40. At the time, Jefferson County had one of the country's highest rate of TBs, a highly contagious, sometimes fatal lung disease characterized by coughing, fever, and shortness of breath. In the hospital, which offered a plenty of bed rest and fresh air, as well as some surgical methods of treating the disease, was thought to be an excellent facility. In 1924, the hospital was expanded to house 400 patients. Many people died at this hospital, and because hospital officials were concerned that the sight of the hearsays would be bad for morality, the bodies were sent to the bottom of the hill through a steam tunnel. The steam kept the tunnel warm and was also used by employees who needed to walk up the hill during the winter. Longtime area resident Kenneth Wade remembers that he and other children would go into the tunnel to warm up after sledding. In addition to fond recollections as a quiet, woodsy backdrop for the neighborhood, the article chronicled Waverly Hills' ups and downs. This included the hospital closed in 1961 as the development of basically it was a cylinder that treated it, allowed more patients to be treated at home. Remaining patients were transferred to Hazleton TB Sanitarium in the South End. Another dark era ended with the state closed down the nursing home at Waverly Hills in 1980, a legend for poor patient care. The article also noted the bleak conditions of Waverly's buildings, which included vandalism and the awaiting plans for redevelopment. But the current silence and emptiness of Waverly Hills grounds the memories that employees have at that place. Douglas Steele remembers it fondly as a place that changed his life. He entered thinking he didn't have much chance to live. He was a patient for more than 5 years, but when he left the hospital, he was healthy and married, and he had a new career. He worked in the radiology department after he recovered and works with the county health department today. And when the Steeles remember the hospital, they talk of people playing practical jokes on each other and patients reportedly sneaking out to go to concerts. They remember a community filled with life and laughter and visitors. Yes, this was experimental surgeries done here on the fourth floor. There were paid operations that people wanted because it was their best chance to live. Artificial pneumonia x rays were two of the procedures used. The National Institute of Health explains as a procedure whereby several ribs are removed in order to make the lungs collapse, which causes defragmentation. The idea was that if you move the ribs over the diseased portion of the lungs, you can help preserve the function of the non diseased areas. Outside of these operations, the treatments were basically just sun, food, air, and rest. That was had to fight the disease. It wasn't until steroids I can't say it, Isicillin, was developed in 1944, that doctors actually had antibiotic to fight TB. I would recommend the historic tour to anyone in the area. On the historic tour, the group were assigned to visit Body Chute, the death tunnel first. We were guilty of the preconceived notion that I'm sure a lot of visitors have. We thought this was built for the sole purpose of moving the deceased out of the hospital. Not so. This tunnel was built for bringing supplies up the hill. Employees also utilized it to walk up the hill to stay out of the cold. It was only when the death toll started getting high that the tunnel was used for moving bodies. It is said that only one hearse ever pulled up to the front of the building. The hospital administrators kept saying that they thought the hearses pulling up would affect the patient's morality. They didn't want the patient to see how many deaths were occurring. We were allowed to walk up the steps all the way to the bottom. Until you walking back up, you didn't realize how far down you really were. So be forewarned. It is a hike back up to the top of the tunnel. I guess when you walk in it, they're saying you get this feeling of walking up, but you're actually walking down, guys.
Weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah, I can see that. I so the picture shows here like one side is kind of like smooth, and then there's kind of like three steps, long space, three. So I could kind of see
Well,
how
that
they would
smooth
do that.
side is for the bodies. Just to let you know.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. It's absolutely haunting and will make you pause and think about the people climbing those stairs to get to work every day while bodies were being moved down the conveyor belt. It used to be a conveyor belt on the left to be picked up by a hearse at the bottom of the hill. Victims of the White Plague. First floor, there is a morgue. We were told that the tables were period specific, but on loan and not original to Waverly. People have reported like smells on the second floor, baking, pancakes, and etc. Third floor, there have been several stories associated with this floor. Popular ghost investigation television rumors about Timmy and Mary, two of the resident ghost children, have been known to move toy balls around. Allegedly, in the 1980s, a homeless man and his dog were found murdered in an elevator. The story is that some type of gang-related killing, and that the eyes were cut out of both the man, and the dog.
Ugh.
The elevator rests on the third floor. The man has reportedly been seen appearing with no eyes, and people have been reported that they have chased by a phantom dog around the building, only to have it disappear. On the fourth floor, this is where it gets a little unsettling, to say the least. Make sure you hear about the teenage boys, their acts, and the fascinating shadow people who terrorize them and will not leave you alone. Hands down, this is the most notorious floor of Waverly. There are countless stories of people experiencing shadow people. What are shadow people? We all know what shadow people are, so I'm not going to get into that. Anybody listens to our channel knows what shadow people are, right?
Exactly. They should.
yes.
Yes.
If you
On
don't
the
know, like and subscribe and ask.
Yes, we will definitely tell you. On the fifth floor, on the historic tour, we heard that one time there was a swing set up here on the roof for the children. We are also told that if TB spread to your brain, it could drive you insane, and those patients were kept up there too. We were told that years ago a security guard stayed alone up here one night in a tent. He was surrounded by the sound of footsteps walking around his tent and even had something poking at the tent. He was found sitting holding the tent when the sun came up, and then he vowed to never go up on the fifth floor again. This is also the location of the most infamous room in the building, room 502. Many rumors and stories have circulated about what happened to the pregnant nurse up here. One version claims that she was depressed from all the sickness and death and she hung herself. Another version claims she was pregnant by a married doctor performing an abortion on herself and then hung herself after. Perhaps the most chilling version is that the doctor performed the abortion on her, it went wrong, and she died, and the hanging was a stage cover up. Ew.
Yuck.
Yuck. We did interest in photos shoot of what appears to be a lightning bolt sort of shape outside room 502 while we were on the public tour. We got several interesting photos of light and bolt shapes throughout the building. I don't know if it's paranormal, but I can tell you that in all my years of snapping photographs, I have never experienced this effect before. Make of that what you will. Also, EVP sessions in the famous room 502, and about 3 minutes into our session, I say, I'm not feeling it. I think all the visitors had chased out all the spirits. That's not amused by us tonight. And then you hear a raspy voice of a man, and if he's struggling to get out all those words, say, I don't see it happening. Everyone else in our group was on the other side of the fifth floor or on the roof. We believe it was a Class A EVP that caught there that night. It amazes us. We also captured a second EVP while in room 502. Me. Anybody want to say I'm here? Response. Yeah. Was caught. We were freezing cold all night. Not Waverly's fault, of course. One of our theories about ghost hunting is that you may be harder to capture evidence in the cold. Why? Because energy moves faster through dense air. It is important to me to point out that everywhere we visited, Waverly was the only place we were unable to get anything whatsoever to happen with our flashlights. We also think it has to do with our ability to concentrate and keep our minds focused and open. It's hard to do if all you can think about is staying warm. So if you go to Waverly, they recommend it. Go during like the spring or summer, but they definitely recommend doing the historic tour at Waverly, guys.
That sounds fun. I feel like I need to go to the fifth floor.
I know, right? Like room 502.
Yeah,
That's the shadow person they're talking about in Waverly up on the screen right now.
that's what I was thinking. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I just got really cold again. I don't know what is happening to my brain.
Now to the quote.
Okay, yes. So, okay, quote from Sigmund Freud. So that's going to be our subject today. Super, super excited. So quote: just as no one can be forced into belief, no one can be forced into unbelief. Um,
Wow.
the the
That's
virtuous
true.
man. Sorry,
No,
the
that's true.
yeah. The virtuous man contents himself with dreaming that which the wicked man does in actual life. The last quote is: the voice of intellect is a soft one, but it does not rest until it has gained a hearing.
Wow.
Bum, ba, da, bum. So, let me remove this row. Okay. So, today is Sigmund Freud. I'm super excited. I actually did a paper for him in college. He is a psychologist, and just to kind of go over like the brief real quick. Um, so, Freud is famous for inventing and developing the technique of psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis. I know I've heard Carly say this 100 times, but I just know I'm not saying it right. I For some reason I know she has said this word. I can hear her voice. Psycho.
Psycho
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, psychoanalytics or it's basically psychology of psycho I'm trying to think of the word too now. I'm sorry.
Yes. So it's articulating the psycholantic theory of motivation, mental illness, and the structure of subconscious, and for influencing scientific and popular concepts of a human nature by posting that both normal and abnormal thoughts, if that makes sense. So to break it down, it's like there's a reason for your thoughts, I guess.
He's basically a neurologist of psychology.
Yes. Um, I don't know. I'm just really like amused, I guess, and interested in Freud because like it's a very unique way of thinking, like dreams are like specifically my thing. Like I've been studying them since I could research stuff, okay, like so for a long time. So,
Oh, I got the word psychoanalyst.
Yes,
psychologist, basically. But yeah,
perfect. So we we didn't really want to do like one subject on him because he is not like an onion, but has a lot of layers. I guess he is kind of like an onion, but everything will come together with the thoughts and process. So the main theories that we're talking about today, like in simple terms, Freud's theory suggests that the unconscious memories, thoughts, and urges influence the human behavior. So, sorry, go ahead. Um,
nurture over nature, basically, was
yes.
with most of his theories.
So, yes. And so this theory proposes that the psyche compresses three aspects: the ID, the ego, and the superego. The ID is entirely unconscious, while the ego operates in the conscious mind. So, and I completely agree with this, especially like when it comes to dreams. Again, like um, now the psychoanalyst has been used as a research tool into childhood development and is still used to treat certain mental disturbances. And so when I went to school for like like child development, this was like a huge thing. Like um I guess most, if you read into I don't know. I forgot the word all of a sudden.
Basically, to me, it's basically saying trauma can define a person's personality, depending
Yes.
on the psyche of the person,
Yes,
kind of thing.
exactly.
Like trauma can really damage somebody's ego. They can damage like parts.
Yes. So when you go to drink, like, let's say you go through very something. Sure. Okay. Well, let's start simple. Okay. So let's start simple here. So if you have a dream about sex, okay, like say your partner.
Simple.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It really is though. Like say your partner's cheating on you in your dream, right? So we all kind of like make fun and we're like, oh, well, I had a dream. My man was over here sneaking over with Linda. Okay. Well, it's not saying that he's going to go sneak off with Linda or your man's going to cheat on you or your partner or whatever. It's just saying that, you know, you're very insecure in your relationship. What is, why is that happening? Like you're feeling a certain type of way. So now it's coming into your dreams. You know what I mean? Like, or say, like, you don't know this yet, but you are about to get fired from your job and start a new job. So that would technically be a new beginning. So you may have a dream about like being pregnant or you're having a wedding, but that kind of goes into it because that's your unsubconscious mind
Meaning
saying,
your conscious mind.
yeah. So not the thing is, and I need to learn this for myself because I know the facts, but me and Carly were just kind of talking about this, like, um, not even though it feels like a scary bad dream, it's not always a bad meaning. Like just like good dreams are not always good meanings. Like you can have something, a really lovely dream, and then it be meaning something like not nice at all. Like you still be insecure about things. But so Freud, I'm sorry. I'm really excited about it. Like, and I didn't get to do the notes as much as I wanted to, but you do what you can with the time you have. So they have different meanings varied across different cultures and periods of time. So you might see that there's some biblical dream meanings, there's some regular dream meanings, whatever that is, you know, um, and those are all different. Freud dream meanings. It's a whole thing. It depends on what you believe in and what makes sense. Biblical meanings, I felt like for the longest time had a little bit more negative thought aspect. Um, so you have to break it down. Everything for Freud, everything was a symbol. Like, so actually, it's here that, like, okay, so let's talk about the manifest content. We'll get into that a little bit more. It's a storyline of a dream, while as latent content, on the other hand, refers to hidden meaning of a dream. So, for instance, this is his thoughts, right? If a woman dreams about being chased by a snake, Freud might have argued that this represents the woman's fear of sexual intimacy, with the snake serving as a symbol of a man's penis. Now, I will tell you, speaking of like snakes and dreams, snakes and spiders, they, off the top of my head, they always have different meanings. So, like, spiders means like it has to do with like a mother figure in your life. So if you're having scary dreams about spiders, you may want to work it out with your mom, honestly.
So that's funny that you say that because snakes and spiders are a Hecate thing.
Yes, and that's the thing too, like, but snakes have so many different meanings, just like spiders. Like spider web, spiders, legs, killing, not killing. Snakes, I've had dreams where they're all over the place. I don't remember what that means, but I just remember it was a whole lot. If they bite you, that's bad luck. If you kill them, that's especially bad luck. So if the snake bites you in the dream and you wake up, that's like a really good warning, like something bad's probably going to happen. Or like if um, a snake, like don't kill it. Don't kill any animals in your dreams because I'm telling you that is, I don't know if it's bad luck, but it's bad juju. Something bad is about to happen. Um, so yeah. So he was like, I know he wasn't the only theorist that focused on like contents of dreams. Um, there was a 20th century psychiatrist, Carl Jung, believed dreams allowed us to tap into a collective unconscious. So, the collective unconscious, as described by Jung, is a theory repository of information he believed to be shared by everyone. According to him, certain symbols in dreams reflected the universal archetypes with meanings that are similar for all the people, regardless of culture or location. I know I'm giving y'all like the textbook definition, but sometimes I feel like in psychology, that's what it is. um, but, anyways, his theory on dreaming. Let's see. There's a threat simulation theory suggests suggests that dreaming should be seen as an ancient biological defense mechanism. Right? And then Carly will kind of go into this a little bit more, but dreams are thought to provide an evolutionary advantage because of their capability to repeatedly simulate potentially threatening events. So, this process enhances the neurocognitive mechanism required for efficient threat perspective and avoidance. So, there's that too. Like with the warnings, like I was saying with the snakes and certain animals, and it's not just animals, just also, it could, if you see like there's a haunted house, like if you're in a haunted house, this is pretty popular too. That can symbolize, depending on the room that you're in, symbolizes different things, and it can have different meanings, different warnings. Let me think. I just had one and I forgot what it was, but oh, you could also suggest that maybe like if you have a dream of a ghost and they have a message, that could also be a different theory. Um, Anyway, sorry, I'm kind of going back into the textbook of it, but it's just so, I don't know, if you have like a, I don't know how to explain anything without going into my personal stuff, but if you're really going through something, then you're going to dream about it. Like maybe not always with like repeated dreams like PTSD. Like with PTSD, right? You have a lot of the same dreams over and over again. Um, Not always, but sometimes with those, I don't know. Anyways, Carly, I'm gonna let you take over because I'm gonna keep
Okay.
ranting.
I'm going to just quick talk about the ego functions of mental functions, not dependent, meaning basic and meta psychology. He was a big one, and other ones have been with this too, like Hartman. There's been a few of these guys that, and women, because his daughter was a great psychologist too. I'm going to throw that out there. Um, with this one is basically such functions include sensory, like how you censor stuff, motor control, some symbolic thought, is another big one with that one. Logical thought, speech, abstraction, judgment about danger, the fight or flight response we sometimes go through, decision making, hygiene, and self preservation when we want to shut down sometimes with a trauma response. Freud, was noted that his one method that the mind may utilize to interfere with any of these functions to avoid painful emotions. So something we might have buried, we sometimes, how he put it, we sometimes flight. So we don't have to bring them painful emotions back up, even in a dream
Yes.
state, in consciousness, in everyday life. But another thing he hit on a lot was sexual deviation with this stuff. And with ego psychology, mental functions can be considered basic rather than deviant wishes, effects, and defenses, like I just said.
Yeah.
Other things were in control, like when we control oral sex, regular sexual, or destructive impulses through our life. He was one to really dive into that, why we consciously make the decisions we make. Sometimes it would through trauma response, like we don't just shut our mind down basically when we go to sleep at night. So the trauma response is a real thing for him with
Yes.
this stuff. But it can actually also in your conscious everyday life, somebody, I don't know how to explain this without being like sick and deviant. Somebody might not be able to get off unless they're choked through a trauma response. Stuff like that. We dive deep into that nowadays in psychology, but back in the 20s and 30s, all the way up to the 70s, we really didn't look at that kind of stuff. We did secretly. And these papers were
Yes.
done secretly. Like they didn't go out and say on national like radio because they didn't really have TV back in the days, especially the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. They wouldn't go on the radio and be like, yo, we just did this experiment and this woman had to be choked to come. They didn't do
Well,
that stuff.
I mean, they still really don't do that today unless you're like looking for it.
Yes.
You have like we're not going to go but it's I don't know, it's just different. It's different from back then, but also some things we just don't talk about. Like you would never heard this stuff unless you went to like therapy or you were
Exactly.
really trying to play.
Psychoanalyst,
Yeah.
psychologist,
Yeah.
actually really up there on the food chain with mental health.
Yeah.
But they did do these papers, and we have access to these papers with trauma responses.
Yes.
And it's just like he talks about the consciousness of bizarre symbolic fantasies. Like what fantasies actually in your unconscious brain during your dream states actually have to do with your consciousness
Yes.
and your everyday life, what might have happened that you might have buried deep, or your sexual fantasies, your painful fantasies, always come back to one thing: trauma responses for him. And he really did dive deep into this ego. Now, when he talks about ego, we also have the ego, like the major super egos. Now, a superego is instead post a conscious and unconscious conflict among wishes, dependence, controlling, sexual, and aggressive, guilt and shame, emotionally, especially anxiety, depressive effect, and a defense operations that shut off from consciousness in some part of our lives. Sometimes can still come through in your dreamlike states.
Yes.
You still have the dreams, you still have the fantasies, but some people actually take it out of the dream state. Let's talk about quick John Wayne Gacy. Guilt and shame as a childhood for being what he was from his dad and all that might actually contribute to what he did later on in life. That's something else he dives into with the ego, super egos of the world. Moreover, healthy, functioning, adaptive people is also determined to a great extent to get rid of these conflicts in their life, to actually seek counseling, therapy, psychoanalysts,
Mhm.
psychologists, psychotherapists, is to change the balance of conflict in a patient by making aspects of less adaptive solutions. So nowadays we have a lot of therapy at our fingertips. We have cognitive, I can't say that, therapy. You also have stress therapy. You have all these therapies.
Yes.
Back in these days, they really didn't. they had one level of therapy, and he wanted to break that through. He wanted to prove not everybody that was dreaming like this or had these fantasies were bad people. Like he really did. He was trying to really dive into this, how the mind can be conflicted but still be a good person type of thing. Like that's how, like, we got to really look at somebody's past before we judge their future type of thing. And compromises have all types of compromises, anything from childhood trauma to somebody killing a pet out of excitement. We really do have to dive deeply into people's past, and object relation theories is another one. It attempts to explain human relationships through the study of how mental representations of the self and others are organized in one's own brain. The clinical symptoms that suggest object relation problems, typically development delays throughout lifetime, including disturbances in individuals' capacity to feel warmth, empathy, trust, sense of security, identity stability, and constant emotional closeness and stability in relationships with others. So he was
Yeah.
also bringing to light, like, what goes on sometimes. Basically, I'm a big believer in this one. What goes in the dark sometimes come to light, and we got to really start to look beyond what we're seeing in front of our eyes. Why this could be
Yes.
going on, what could have happened to this person in their lives that kind of broke them from the reality and took from a dream state of a fantasy to the reality of the consciousness of everyday life. And like, how did it get brought over?
Yeah, and that's why like dreamings, like they can be so personal. Like when you're like really unveiling that dream and like breaking it down, like you don't always know what goes on behind closed doors. Like if they're dreaming about, I see the signs now. Like when I went through a lot of my stuff, like I can see it now. The difference with someone with trauma versus not trauma. Most of the time, not always, but most of the time, I could say, this was just a silly dream or this was a symbol. Um, I mean, he also kind of believed that sometimes, like, dreams can be a wish fulfillment. Like,
Yes.
they represent, like, wishes that are wants and they have been denied and they have become a part of the unconscious mind, which is funny because I had that dream. I think was it last week or something, and I was like really excited. I'm like, "Hey, I finally had a good dream," and I haven't had a good dream in a long time, you guys. I think
you,
I don't
you,
even remember the last time I had a good dream.
you
And
know he Freud, he did a 1917 paper on mourning and melancholy, right?
yeah,
It's about sexuality. And when we're talking about this, I'm going to just put it out there now. This is not our belief systems. This is just what we're reading up on this guy. So we're
yeah,
not advocating for him, but we're not dismissing him either. Just
yeah.
let everybody know
If
that.
if you there's actually a book on Amazon. I have to order it, but he has it's called Interpretation of Dreams,
Is
and
that the
so
cover?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the cover. So definitely check it out, and if you want to read more on him and kind of get a breakdown, then that's always
That
do it.
book might be in my closet.
Wouldn't that be funny if it was?
Like that, the closet is like a giant bookshelf with a door
Yeah.
in the hallway. So, and like that's where all the books end up. So I'm sure if it's there, but I don't think I'm gonna go dig for it today.
And I'm definitely
Yes.
not going to get into object relation theories right now because,
Yeah.
no. Uh-uh.
Well, there's also okay. So there is different theory as well. Dreams are electrical brain impulses that pull random thoughts and imaginary from our memories. And actually that's probably goes what you're saying, like the theory
Yeah. Of
posts that human constructs dream stories after they wake up in a natural attempt to make sense of something that
going on or went
yeah that
on.
that
Something
makes
you
no
buried.
sense. Yeah. And
Sometimes, like, basically, sometimes what he's saying, we bury stuff
yeah,
to face reality, and our dreamscapes are sometimes the only place that it can represent anything in.
Man. Um, okay, so I know this, and this is kind of off topic, sort of, but like a lot of people say, I don't have dreams. I don't think it's that you don't have dreams. I think that you just don't remember it. Like,
Yeah.
So my husband is one of those people that says he doesn't have dreams. I think he just doesn't remember them.
Yeah.
But when he does remember his dreams, they're freaking weird dreams.
I think that has to do with their jobs, though. I wonder because you know if my boyfriend he when he dreams, gosh dang, he's like fighting people and there's karate involved. There's always so like it sounds like a movie storyline.
But my husband talks about numbers in his sleep, not nothing exciting.
Oh,
Here.
numbers. Always remember the numbers because you got those angel number things too.
Oh, these numbers, I'm sure the numbers, it has to do with his old job because they're meter numbers and meter
Oh,
readings.
it's all the trauma from the meter reading.
It's all the trauma from the previous job, I'm sure.
Well, here's another one. Klein was another guy that followed um, his theories. Discusses the concept interjection, creating a mental representation of external objects and projections, applying this mental representation to reality. So bring your dreams into reality.
Yes.
Making sense of your dreams, maybe clearing that trauma up a little bit by talking it out with somebody. Hey, I keep dreaming about this, could it mean this? And bringing
Yeah.
it to light might actually help you through your dreams at night and make it
Yeah.
easier to sleep,
Yes.
because some people can dream pretty horribly. Let's be honest, there's some nightmares
Yeah.
out there. um
That's me. I'm the always having. I had y'all like. I had
Um,
another one the other night with my nana.
mm,
I woke up thinking she said, and actually I can't even get a hold of her. I know she's still alive, but I was pretty sure. I don't know if that was a warning that she's going to die. Well, we're all
yeah.
going to die, but I don't
Is
know.
this the Nana? Is this the one that just had the birthday?
Yeah, she just had her 95th birthday, and we're actually going to have her and your grandma come on. Um, will it be posted on the
Like the first,
26th, or will it
no,
be
that we're recording on the 26th,
so to be that following?
whatever day
Let's,
of the week.
yeah, hold on, let me tell you. That'll be posted on January 2nd. So we'll start the new year going back into the past and looking at like different what because we talk so on the channel we talk about like a lot of history and like different times, and we've had some conversations about like what it was like not to have electricity. Will we really even be able to survive without electricity? Well, or like women's rights, so she's 95, you have your grandmother coming on, and they were in that era where they really didn't have AC
they were
and women.
in the
So,
era with woman suffrage.
Yeah, exactly. Like you had to be polite, you definitely don't spit. That was a sin, things like that. So
I'm curious to see the difference because what year did I tell you my grandma was born?
I want to say it was like 1960, and my nana goes, "She's young." I said,
I'm
"That's
not even,
about grandma's age,"
I'm
you
not even
know.
sure.
So,
You know,
um,
this he has a lot of books out, right?
um,
Freud.
yes, 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 yes.
Yes. Like I'm looking
Um,
through some of them.
I went down a rabbit hole. Like it was like, why can't we remember being a baby? And it says,
Oh,
He also
so
has case histories on file. What?
so
"Oh,
it's weird. I have a memory from when I was like 2 years old going to the state fair.
oh,
And my parents like, how do you remember that? Because I remember what my stroller looked like. I remember the clothes I was wearing, everything.
oh."
And my parents are like, how do you know that? And I don't know.
Don't look up his books. Some of them.
Uh-oh.
If
Don't do it.
Carly tells me no, they're gonna be good.
I know.
Psycho of the case of homosexuality in women. Blaming.
Well, that's a if you have a dream and you're like a straight person in your waking
That's
life.
what he's talking about.
Oh, well, I'm going in a rabbit hole, but
Yeah, you are.
It's
I'm just saying that usually means you are sexually um we'll say sexually unpleased because I can't remember the word, but you know, like like
unsatisfied.
like you need some like you're needing that physical.
But we got to
Mm.
remember this is 1920s, and what was acceptable then may not be acceptable now. But we got to look at it through the eyes of history, not through the eyes of the present. When we read
Yes.
up on
Remember,
some of these,
some
what?
of this stuff is taboo topics, so it wasn't really.
Oh yeah. I see what you're saying, like especially with same sex relationships and stuff.
Yes.
Okay, I
So when
see
you
what you're
read
saying.
up on it, just don't fry this man. This is back in 1920s. It was a little different. Like they use, like we were talking about, they use vibrators to on women, and orgasms to clear hysteria. You got to remember that when we read up on this stuff.
And
I mean,
Different
honestly
time.
though, TMI, after you get some in any kind of way, I guess, do you feel better? Yeah.
That's not what we're
I
going with,
mean,
but okay.
if I could have sex every night before I fell asleep,
Sleep better.
I would probably have a less traumatic night.
you know, it's
Okay.
probably what vibrators are for, so you can sleep good.
And he does a lot on sexuality, by the way.
Yes.
He
Yes.
really
Nobody
does.
even
So Freud is not for everybody. Like there's a lot of controversy in his stuff too. I didn't want to get into that side. I just kind of wanted to stay like the dreams, like the different types. You know what I mean? Like the
Oh, so we don't want
ego.
to talk about Medusa's head, his book Medusa's Head.
I Is that a
are you
thing? Really?
curious?
Yeah, it was made in 1922. That's the thing.
What's it about?
Are a child being beaten a contribute to the origin of sexual perversions in 1919? Like these rabbit holes go deep, but like yet again, we got to remember
These rabbit holes
1900s
make
early.
sense.
What?
You know,
These rabbit holes make sense.
They do, because now this shows you why he believes past trauma has a lot to do with everyday dreams.
you know what's crazy
It
is
does
my
make sense.
great
But
great grandma was born in 1920, so she would have been alive when he was putting these books out, which is really creepy. She died when she was 95 and a half.
Oh,
But
wow.
I was like 16 or something. Or no,
he,
hold on. I had a baby. I think she died when I was 17.
but he might have been before his time with some of this stuff too,
Yeah.
and that's why they're going after him so hard, because some of this stuff makes sense. It does.
Hmm.
But back then they would have been like, taboo. No, no, no. Childhood
Yeah.
trauma cannot make somebody like BTK.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it
It's so
can.
funny because I'm learning stuff today too. Because I was like, oh, that reminds me of this thing that we did the other day, and I'm like, oh, was that really a trauma response? Because it didn't feel like a
Oh,
trauma response.
oh my. Oh my. Just kidding.
Hey, maybe we
No.
should make the kids read this. The splitting of ego in the process of defiance. I'm
Ugh.
just saying.
I mean,
Damn kids.
If I,
yeah.
like, the
Oh,
bad thing is with my kids, if I'm like, hey, read this, they're gonna dig deep. Not only about what they're supposed to be reading, about the person who wrote the book.
then don't do it. Don't do it. Because
Yeah,
remember, he is a
exactly.
psychoanalyst of
Yeah,
Yeah.
human nature. That's the
yeah.
easiest way to put it. With
My
human
kids
nature,
don't help,
human
like,
Yeah.
nature.
dig with topics to dig into. I promise. We homeschool, member, so uh, any topic's fair game once they start digging into it.
That is true. Don't do it.
Yeah, not now. They can do it.
Sexually, morality, and modern day nervous illness. Yeah, don't do it. They're going to be
Nothing.
like so confused.
Not
Don't do it.
today.
But some of his work is good, and some of it we still use to this day. We still study his work in colleges, the newer work, not the older ones. Like the ego and the idea, we still do. We still do dreamscapes, and some of his philosophies and theories and projects and whatever else you want to call them, we still do use to this day with trauma response, with dreams. We got to remember that. Am I wrong?
No.
You're not wrong. I
We
was
still
like, uh
study
huh, yes, yes, and I'm like, oh, I'm on mute.
them.
I'm like, yes, queen.
Like we can say this guy was sadistic, we can say this guy was out there, but at the end of the day, is because of the time period he was in. Yet again,
Yes.
stop judging people on their time periods. Look
There was
at
a
the time
different
periods.
time back in the day, y'all.
Yes, they weren't so open back then.
Just
Gotta
like
remember
we
that.
always say that we would have been hung back in the day.
I wonder what he would have thought about your dreams up there. He would have been like, I'm retiring, I'm done.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
done.
my dreams get wild. I
I
mean,
tap.
My
like,
dreams are just weird most of the time.
yeah, like, I wish I could just have, like, well, no, I don't. Like, I don't
I,
know. Like, I've had weird dreams, and I don't know. I just don't want the scary dreams. That's what. So you could tell I'm really stressed out when I be having like really bad nightmares. But I was like, really, the other day I had this terrifying dream, and I woke up at 3:30 a.m. and I don't think I was stressed out, so I don't know why I would have that dream. Um, my brother tried to interpret it for me.
Butch brother.
Uh, Taylor. He did a pretty good
Okay.
job. He
I
was
was I was thinking about the other one, and I was like,
oh,
oh,
he
oh my.
he doesn't my other brother, he's like, I don't believe in ghosts, but he told me one time it's cuz he's scared of ghosts. So, like, he's openly admitted it. Um, I have a spider on my ceiling now. See?
Oh,
Oh
What
no.
happens when you talk about things, they just come back.
he really
I'm like,
did do psychotherapy, by the way.
yes.
He might have been one of the
Um,
founding fathers. What?
he's like, I don't know. He was what really got me into psychology in the first place. I feel like I've forgotten a lot of things about it, but I can always regroup. I just remember being so excited about him and then reading more and more and more. And then when I was like writing this paper and stuff, it was just so many layers, and I got a really good grade on it. Just because I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy psychology. I really enjoy reading on like Sigmund Freud, and we have Irwin. Maybe we'll do him for a live this
Erwin
week.
Schrödinger and the
Yeah.
Y-
paradox
yes.
of the cat.
Like, I don't think we ever really got into psychology on this, like, because we talk about like serial killers and like true
Well,
crime and all that.
Freud was the founding person, a psychoanalyst. You got to remember
Yeah.
that. Because of him, we have, another realm of psychologists that really
Yes.
look into stuff like this. And they do make, I don't know how to, he redefined sexuality too. We got to also remember that he didn't only do dreams, he redefined sexuality for many of us.
Yes.
So we got to remember that. He was the forefather of a lot, and he was outside the box.
Yeah.
Something unheard of with dreams. Because nobody really analyzed dreams back in the day.
No, they were just like, God's telling you something, or whatever. Whatever they said. I don't know. Well, I guess when that'll be good when the elders come on. We can go into that a little bit more, but
And he made libido a thing, just to let you know. Libido was not a thing until he discussed it. Your libido.
yeah.
I mean,
Ugh.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's true.
No, it is.
And erotic attachments to your dreams. He really did get into that. He
Yes.
did.
But those do have meanings. Like, Like I can go into that all day. Um, if you have, sorry, random, like if your teeth are falling out, like that usually means that you're losing control. Like you feel like you're losing control. I don't know. I can go into the dream meaning things all day.
What about a zombie apocalypse, and erotica rolled into one? What are those dreams about?
It means you're
Don't
a hot mess and you need to stop reading books.
It means like I'm telling you both right now, if he was still alive and y'all were on his couch, he would be like, "I'm done. I'm done. These bitches are bad." Hysteria, hysteria.
when I did have them, I wasn't listening or watching anything weird. It just happened.
So, okay, there's different meanings to the apocalypse, by the way. Sometimes it means like you're out of control. Sometimes it means like you're scared of something or like the unknown, like you're scared of the unknown. Sometimes it's now on here it says you're struggling to forget yourself. There's a threat in your life. I would say the threat or the losing control.
It was
For
a
sure.
long time ago.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying that I don't know what your dream was, but
I don't. It was
um,
basically. Remember how we had that conversation about things being weird because they have no plot line? It's just a lot of wieners and whatnot.
wait,
This
what?
was just. This was just like a porno, but it had a storyline.
See,
Told
I
y'all.
don't. That's see when it gets
Told
into
you.
the storylines, that's where like my boyfriend is like he gets in these crazy storylines, and you know, like we have David who comes on our lives, and his storylines. I remember him telling me some of his dreams. I'm like, but his were always like romance versus my boyfriend now. He's like, I know. He was like, I was like kicking this guy and I was fighting him. And then you were over there in the kitchen, and I was like, I'm gonna save you. And there was alligators all over the place. So I walked over to this room and I fought this guy. One time, I mean, and this is not like the first time he's done that. This is like several times. But that seems to be the thing. Like guys, when like I date them, they used to be like, I never have dreams, and then like just wait a little bit, and then they're like, they need to never have dreams, and they're like, until I met you.
You're the dream thrower, not me.
I'm still trying to read into that. I'm like, what does that mean? Is it my fault? And is it me? Am I the drama? I
You're the drama dreamer.
am the drama dreamer. But am I wrong? Like, usually there's reasons for it. Or maybe there's no reason for it at all. It's just myself wanting to traumatize myself. Like,
Oh,
you know?
I
So,
can see that.
sorry.
I was just reading about Freud's life, and I'm not even going to talk about that.
Yes.
No, mm-mm.
So, do y'all want to wrap it up or do y'all want to?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So, we are getting the hell out of here, and I hope you have a great day. Stay cool. Send us your dreams, like and subscribe, and stay out of trouble. And if you have a complaint, take it to RIS. That's RYS. And she needs the stress.
Blessed be, guys. Love one another and love yourselves, please.
All right. And
Stay spooky.
don't lick an eyeball today. Goodbye.